only thing we have to
Beer.
is
Beer.
itself.
Beer. So many choices.
Only no function beer well without.
Woohoo! Beer! Hello, and welcome to another episode of Beer Busters, where we're going to bring you the news and reviews of some wonderful brews. My name is Dan Baker, joined, as usual, by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Heffner.
Can't forget the demented and fermented
Wayne Baker.
We have made it to another state, and I don't know why they keep letting us leave Pennsylvania. So we've, of course, Pennsylvania, we've had New Jersey, we've had Delaware, and now we are in the Empire State. We are in New York, we're in Brooklyn, we are at Kings County Brewers Collective. And not only we travel here to drink some of their beers and some other ones, but we have a couple guys with us from a very interesting app that we will dive into. But we've got two guys at the table. To start, we may have some other folks join us down the road. But if you guys wouldn't mind introducing yourselves, we have...
Gage. I am our social media manager and success. Head of success.
Head of Success.
Head of Success, yes.
I like that title.
That's my new title. for
Really
Beer Busters.
positive.
That
makes
is.
me feel good.
I feel like that should be Steph's title.
That's
Steph's
Yeah,
Head of
totally my
Success.
title now.
Well, and we have
Rex, and I'm in account management.
Rex in account management.
What are you head of?
Head of account management.
There you go.
He's the account manager, so he's the one.
He's head of money.
Head by default.
Yes, and we should mention this is all for
And I was just going to say...
beermenus.com.
Yes, this is all
Beer
for
Menus.
beermenus.com and the app of Beer Menus, which is available on iOS and Android. Is it available on Windows Phone?
You know, unfortunately,
Nobody has them. So.
what we say in the office is, we've got iPhone, we've got Android, and if you've got a Windows phone, we're sorry for you.
Yeah, exactly.
That was your decision.
Yeah. I had an old roommate that got a Windows Phone as Windows phones were already declining. He just bought one. He was like, oh, yeah, it was only $50 for my contract. I'm like, you now have that phone for 2 years. Otherwise, you're going to spend $600 on another phone.
Yeah, but it's, the website's mobilely optimized, so you can still do it.
So if for some reason you have a Windows phone, go right ahead to beermenus.com. It's very...
Do they have Explorer? Do you have to use Explorer on mobile?
Well, no,
Is
it's
that-
Edge now.
Edge. Okay.
You use Edge.
What about Opera? What's Opera?
Opera
Isn't
was...
that a thing?
Yeah, it's its own. It's kind of like Netscape.
Oh.
It's not owned by any...
I thought it
Because
was
Safari
Microsoft.
is
Okay.
Apple.
Right.
Our website's actually not accessible on Netscape because it's too antiquated.
Yeah,
That's a good
I believe
idea.
that. Yeah.
It might be. I don't know.
It might be. Actually, the website does work very well on mobile. I was on it the other day before I downloaded the app.
I was going to say, I downloaded the app a while ago. I haven't tried the site.
But the site itself, you'd be surprised how many websites that also have apps and the websites are just like unusable on a phone.
Yeah, that's
and you
true.
think it's not that hard.
People paid a lot of money to make apps, but it's important to us because I have space on my phone because I upgraded recently. My girlfriend has to delete an app every single time
I hate
she
that.
needs to do anything, take a photo.
Right.
And that's we kept that in mind because there's no reason to download the app unless you want to have that
Right.
functionality.
Right,
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I do want to, before we get into some other stuff for the show, I want to thank Audible for their continuing support. Remember, you can go to audibletrial.com/beerbusters and sign up for your own, very own personal Audible account, 30-day trial, where you get to download a book of your choice, listen to it. Somebody will read those ever so precious words to you. So let's face it, you're busy. You can listen to it while you're driving to Brooklyn, and you have a book on the way instead of listening to, the radio.
Or Beer Busters.
So once you're done with this episode of Beer Busters, then go to audibletrial.com/beerbusters and get your free audiobook. And if
You should go to that before you get in the car and download the book prior to getting in the car, don't you
Oh, true.
think?
Don't
So when you're in the
download
car,
apps.
Yes,
while
don't
driving.
download while driving.
then you can
We
just
should-
play it.
yeah.
So do it now, people.
Yes, so download it now while you're listening to this, because the audio on your phone will run in the background. audibletrial.com/beerbusters.
Yeah, and there's something else you should do. I think in all of that, it's Patreon.
Oh,
Go
yeah,
to
the Patreon
patreon.com/beerbusters to learn how to become a Beer Busters patron and help us raise funds to maybe one day have our own Beer Busters app.
Or a helicopter.
I don't know what
Or
it'll
a
do.
helicopter. We
Or
need
a
that damn helicopter.
But go to
It's never gonna
patreon.com/beerbusters.
We would not have gotten stuck behind the accident on one of the bridges had we had a helicopter. And it would have taken like a half hour to
See,
get
you
here.
should have left at 7:30 this morning like I did.
No, there is
But
no
I had time
7:30
to get a
a.m. on Sundays.
delicious brunch in Brooklyn, and we walked around the neighborhood and saw all of the amazing art.
There's a lot of artwork around
It was
here.
such a nice
really-
morning.
yeah.
There's
I
a
want
lot
to
of-
start my
lot of
morning
art on
here
the
every
walls.
day.
So that's patreon.com/beerbusters.
At least on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Ups
It's
and
a nice
downs.
Sunday morning.
Yeah. And we have sipping beers. Now, this is a first. We each have our own sipping beers.
Yes, we went with a variety
Yes,
pack.
so I have the Jet Setter IPA here from KCBC, and I really enjoy it. It is a delicious, very crisp, very well-rounded out IPA. Steph, you have
Well-rounded out.
Yes.
I like
Yes.
that. So I am drinking Dangerous President.
cough.
I just loved the name of it.
It's actually Precedent, right?
Is it?
Well, no, hang on. So it Dangerous Precedent. They've been making it since they first opened.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, because if you
but-
look on the menu, it says Precedent, but up there it says President.
President.
Exactly. They changed it on or around January 19th for reasons that are pretty obvious.
So-
We actually didn't. We
Well
were
done.
here like 2 weeks ago and didn't notice until we were leaving that they had changed the name. And he's like, "Look at the menu. Do you see something different?"
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's funny when I ordered it, I said precedent because that just makes sense. You know,
Right.
the
Oh.
phrase "dangerous precedent,"
knew.
and then but then I was corrected.
This
I
is
was
a
like, oh.
hazy orange tropical fruit bomb with
Yes.
Cascade, Mosaic, and Azaka.
And what I like about that one
It's
is
quite tasty. And
it's-
this is Zach's brew.
Aha, there we go.
Team Brews here.
You,
All right.
Which one did you have? You have Jet Setter.
Yeah, I had Jet Setter. The
Yours has orange zest, Earl Grey, and a refreshing finish.
Ooh,
That's the
Earl
description. American and European blend of Amarillo, Cascade, and East Kent Goldings hops. I can get the hint of Earl Grey.
what I like with yours is that it's not overly hop forward. It has a lot of other flavors that are in there to help balance it. Makes it a little more smooth, I suppose.
And yours is Pete's brew. Yours is also Pete's brew.
And then Wayne, what do you have?
That's Sneaky Pete, right?
Yeah, of course.
Sneaky Pete. I have Robot Fish, which was my favorite name on the board. Second,
Speaking of Zach.
that was
That was Zach.
that was the beer ghost that haunts our podcast.
yeah, right.
So this is Single Hop Galaxy IPA.
Yeah,
Quite
Smash
delicious.
IPA.
A very
cool.
easy drinker, but with lots of hop character and good to start the show with. I think.
You know
West
what?
Coast style.
I haven't tried that yet. Can I grab a sip of it?
I feel like
Absolutely.
he did, and he's just stealing
No, actually,
one.
I didn't.
Oh,
I don't
sorry.
remember.
'Cause I
It's all
didn't
good.
want to. I didn't want to reach over the computer again.
I'm surprised you're letting us have beer so close to the equipment.
to the technology.
Well, it's already wet. So
yeah,
Ooh,
yeah. I
that's
did.
a-
I
that's a
already
good one.
spilled some soda on that.
now, what
laptop,
you must be drinking one of the
Yes.
IPAs.
I wanna get to what you
I
right?
guys-
had the robot fish
All
as
right.
well.
Oh, okay.
That's the
So-
robot fish side of the table.
It's a go-to for me when I come here.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Very
And
good.
you
Dave,
are
what do you
not
have?
drinking an IPA.
Yeah, that
No.
looks very light.
I'm having a strap hanger. It's a rice lager because I think we need more beers with rice and corn in them. I don't care how like pro Budweiser that sounds. I love rice and corn in beer. Like Interboro, who's 2 stops away on the L train, which is. I'm pointing, but this isn't visual. They're pretty close, and they do a corn like Mexican lager, and they've done it. They did it previously when the brewer was at another brewery. Some like variation of it. It is awesome. We need more of them in the world.
Yeah, that's cool. Actually, I had a sip of that earlier. My friend Jenna behind you got that, and she let me try it. It's really good. Very, very well executed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not about to get Coronas because as a craft beer drinker,
Right.
I think of myself as better than that. So
Yeah,
alternatives.
yeah. No Corona for me either.
No Corona.
Oh, jeez. Well, I feel like we should get into some news. All right. This one I really like. As listeners may be aware, I am starting to love barrel-aged beers more and more and more and more and more because let's just face it, they're fantastic.
Starting? We've
Late
been
to
doing
the-
this podcast
yeah, really.
for 4 years,
Well, no,
and I feel like you've
yeah.
always loved
I've
barrel-aged
always loved
beers.
them, but now I think I love them a little more. I think barrel-aged could be my favorite way to get a beer into my system.
Okay.
Which works out better with a brewery like Dogfish Head, because Delaware's most, quote, off-centered brewery, Dogfish Head, has teamed up with Annapolis, Maryland-based AC Beverage in order to create a draft system you've never seen before. It is called Airy Ale, which is an innovative nitrogen-based draft system, and it goes directly into the barrel. Wow. So you don't have
Barrel
to
to
keg
glass.
it. It goes right from the barrel through and then into your glass.
So
Barrel gas glass.
I saw this article, and the really important question for me: are we talking? Is every beer going to be like a single barrel pull, or are they like blending
Oh, that's a good
barrels
question.
together
That is an
Yeah.
yeah.
and then pulling it out?
It probably depends on the beer.
right?
Yeah,
but
I
I mean,
guess
it'd be
so.
really interesting. I mean, for someone like them with a huge barrel program to be able to do like multiple different single barrel versions of the same beer,
Yeah.
and like really get that nuance. That would
Yeah.
be. I hope
Yeah.
I hope they're doing both.
When
That'd be
I
cool.
was
You'd do, like, a
in
side-by-side with, yeah.
when I was in the Pacific Northwest over the summer, we stopped at the Cascade Barrel House, and they had 2 or 3 beers that they were tapping directly from barrels. And every day the beer, of course, changes and evolves, and that was a lot of fun to be able to taste those beers.
Yeah.
This is
I like how the article breaks it down. It doesn't go into what you were mentioning there, Gage, but It uses a nitrogenator mixed gas system that provides a continuous supply of N2, which feeds directly into the oak barrels. Customized barrel extractor allows the beer to be pumped under low N2 pressure, and Steph spotted something later that I guess we'll get into. Pressure to heat to a heat exchanger, which chills the beer to the desired temperatures, and from there it is fed to a cellar stream inline liquid and gas infuser that pressurizes the beer to the set pounds per square inch. And the settings can be changed to match the style of beer, which is good. Now, the paragraph that Steph eyed is AC Beverage, the company they're working with, has been working with Dogfish Head since 1995, and after working with Dogfish Head founder Sam Calagione on various brewery projects, the team eventually arrived at the idea. The first system has been sold to Italy, which is Boston's Terra restaurant, and the second will find its home at Dogfish Head.
That's awesome. I have not been to Boston since the Italy in Boston has opened, so
now you have reason to go back.
I know. Of course, I'm embarrassed to say that I've never been to the one in New York either.
It's
I don't
really
think
good.
I don't think I've ever been to one, period.
The last time we were in Boston, they were
Where
I want to
is
say
it?
building it. It's in the Prudential Tower.
That makes sense.
Yeah. It's going to be amazing.
Now, normally around this time of year, so we're recording, it's the beginning of February now, so this episode will go out in a couple of weeks. This is normally when we get the list of the top craft beer sales for the year, for the previous year. While I was looking for that, it's not out yet as of this recording, the Brewers Association has this really cool infographic that has the craft beer year in review for 2016. Officially, as of November 30th, not even counting December, the brewery count in the United States is over 5,000. It's 5,005 breweries, and they are all...
That's a palindrome.
It is
a palindrome.
Yeah, it is.
It lasted for about 3 days.
Yeah.
If even.
Or
if
3
even.
seconds.
Yeah. And by comparison, there's 10,000 wineries in the U.S., apparently, but I would argue the breweries are more important. Nothing against wine.
Well, the other thing is, though, a winery is going to, by default, take up more space. Now, I know wine's been popular longer than craft beer, so that plays into it as well. But I think there's just more room for breweries as well. I mean, you can fit
and a lot of
brewery in
wineries grow their own grapes.
Exactly, that's
right.
right.
to be a
which takes the space.
Brewery. I mean, some brewers obviously are all into hops, especially would be the ingredient. But there's a lot of hop farms and
I just feel like you can
houses.
fit a brewing operation in more nooks and crannies than you could fit a winery.
I don't know. There's some massive breweries out there.
Well,
though.
But
But you have like neighborhood breweries. There's not a single neighborhood winery in the
that's
world.
true.
Right.
Yeah.
Like these guys, I mean, Kings County Brewers Collective, I mean, they're taproom focused. More people are drinking their beer here than in the rest of the city, and that's as far as they're going to go for a while. But I saw an article about that same statistic about wineries and breweries, is that there are, with the number of breweries we have, plus the number of license applications into the TTB, that if all of those licenses get accepted, we'll have more breweries than wineries.
Wow.
There's that many
That's
breweries
huge.
in planning. Yeah.
And there was, twice as many? You said 10,000 wineries versus about
10,000
5,000?
wineries and 5,005 as of November 30th. I'm sure in December
there's
there
more
were at
now,
least
yeah.
nationwide, probably at least 100 that were added, I'd assume.
At least.
I wonder if there are any wineries that are draft only. Like, does every winery bottle their wine? Because you can get wine on
Oh,
draft
that's a good
at some
question.
places.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because a lot of breweries are just like, they just keg and it's draft and you get it there and that's
like
it.
box
Not
them.
every brewery has to package and sell their
I never thought of that.
product. Are there wineries that are that way?
Yeah.
Typically, I mean, none that I've ever been to.
I bet that there's some that exist solely to fill the market of draft wine elsewhere.
Yeah.
So they probably only do. But
Yeah. That's interesting. I wonder if we're per capita at the most breweries. Because I know pre-Prohibition, there was at one point, I forget the statistic, but considering we had a much lower population, per capita there were more breweries than there are now. So 5,000 is impressive, and it's the highest number we've had. But considering there's, 330 million people in the country, per capita we still have a long way to go. That I didn't see on this. On this, yeah.
that's some quick math someone's got to do.
Yeah.
I was going to pull up my calculator, and I thought, you know what? It's not
Nope.
worth it.
We'll come back later
Not
with a
worth
few beers in us and
Yeah.
some bad math.
And it'll all make so much sense then.
Exactly. Craft beer has grown about 8% for small and independent breweries. And, of course, as I'm sure we all could have guessed, IPAs are the best sellers. They represent roughly 1/4 of the craft volume.
Yeah, I think they will be for a while, too.
Yeah.
No signs of stopping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, I mean, I would have thought that sours would have started to. And I know they're more expensive; they're a
Right.
little more of an acquired taste than. I think they don't have as quite a broad appeal, but they're definitely the trendy thing amongst
Definitely.
hardcore beer drinkers right now. And I thought that would spill over to a more mainstream
Well, and the IPA has evolved too.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, it's not like the IPA has been popular for so long, but it hasn't been the same IPA.
True. Apparently, approximately 65% of craft beer lovers said they are drinking more craft specifically because it offers more variety. American craft beer around the world is growing 16%, which goes to about 446,151 barrels distributed worldwide, which is worth $116 million. Portland is the number one large metro area
Maine
for beer.
or Oregon?
Oregon.
Okay.
Good question, though. Number one large
Appropriate
metro area for beer tourism, which is according to Travelocity's first beer tourism index. And as far as homebrewing goes, there were 7,962 entries into the National Homebrew Competition, which is, of course, the world's largest beer competition. There's about 1.2 million homebrewers in the U.S., which create over 11,000 jobs and $1 billion in annual spending. They have this section on there, and we'll get this on the website when the episode comes out, too. They have a red, white, and brew section. There's bipartisan support. More than half of the U.S. Congress now supports the Craft Beverage Modernization Tax Reform Act.
I don't think they have a choice.
Exactly,
Not
yeah.
anymore.
If they really want to work for their constituents.
Jobs. It's jobs, damn it.
Exactly.
And there's 63% of consumers select their beer based on a food item or a meal that they are planning to have, which I think is cool because I think beer pairing to food has for a while been a pretty underrated thing to do, but I like that more breweries
Encourage it. It's really hard to... as a restaurant owner or a chef, there's so many other things you have to think about to add in also what beer does this dish pair with. I mean, because that's something we talk to businesses across the country all the time, and they want to cover beer and food pairings.
Yeah.
But what beer pairs with what food is really hard to understand, especially with such a nuance that now comes across in both the beer and a well-prepared meal.
Yeah. And I think it's probably for the same reason that beer is so versatile to pair with food would be the same reason why it'd be so difficult to come up with pairings, because there's such a wide array of options. There's so with wine, I think there's certain rules you follow and that's it. And this wine goes with this food. And beer just has such a broader spectrum of character.
Wine wants to be really cut and dry. Beer does not.
Exactly. And so it makes it great, to pair beer with food is awesome, but it's got to make it more difficult to come up with those pairings as well.
Totally.
Well, that's all I really had in news. I'm hoping soon that the list of the highest beer sales will be out soon.
I know, you love your lists.
I do like
Well,
lists,
that's
but I
always a fun
specifically
list.
like
I
that
look forward
one.
to that list.
I do like that list.
Especially since was it last year? I guess it was. Well, I guess that would have accounted for then 2015 sales. Yingling was the number one craft beer seller because they had to redefine what craft is to include corn-based, which I know would make you happy with the strap.
As much as I'm from Pennsylvania and don't love Yingling, politics aside,
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't care for that. But you know what? Fine. I'm happy corn is involved.
Yeah,
Hey,
all
it helps our
All
state, that's
corn
for sure.
brewery.
Yeah.
I learned recently that corn is technically a grain and not a vegetable. I've been wrong my entire life, and I'm almost 30 years old.
Well,
Better late than never.
I think me and all of the listeners of this podcast also just learned something new.
Oh, there you go. All right, I'm not alone.
My whole world's been turned upside down.
It's like when I learned tomato was a fruit.
I still can't accept it as a fruit. I know technically it is, but you don't have tomato in a fruit salad.
Well, you see, the thing is you have to differentiate between it's botanically a fruit, but it's culinarily a vegetable.
Culinarily. Is that a word?
Yes, that's a word.
Well, okay.
Add it to the
I guess it is now.
Yes.
Well, we are...
Put tomato in my fruit beer. I'm going to release it. Tell them, make a beer with tomato. It's a fruit beer.
Well, we had
Steve Armstrong.
Yeah, Steve
Tomato
Armstrong,
wheat.
a guy who's what did he change the name to? Is it Armstrong Ale House?
So Armstrong Ale House. Yes.
It'll be opening shortly in Pennsylvania. He did a pizza beer, and it was
And it
actually
was amazing.
It was really
Garlic,
really good.
tomato, basil.
Yeah,
Better
oregano.
than Mamma Mia pizza beer.
Well, I've heard that-
One of the worst beers in the world.
Yeah, I was going
No,
to say that one
that
is
tastes like
notoriously
shit.
awful.
I've like that, and there was just a Punch did an article. A friend of mine, Aaron Goldfarb, he'll probably never hear this, but he wrote an article about the worst beers in the world, and the Cave Creek chili beer. And it's like, I've had all those terrible beers.
I've had
It's
that.
so worth seeking out.
Just
Mamma
because
Mia,
it's that
Cave
bad?
Creek.
Oh, no.
It's like, it's not that it's really not the worst in the world. It's just unpleasant.
Oh,
to
I've had
drink.
that.
Yeah,
I know exactly what beer you're talking about.
And I don't know, to have a good pizza beer, like I want to visit Armstrong Ale House and have a good pizza.
You need to
Yeah,
tell
I
Steve
love
to brew it
pizza.
again.
So
surprisingly good. Like you wouldn't think, especially given the reputation of Mamma
He didn't
Mia.
even even tell us what it was when he handed it to us. He just said, "Here,
Here,
try
try this."
this.
We're like, it tastes
what
like
do
a
you think?
pizza
What
it
do you
is?"
think's in it?
Yeah, and like I picked out the basil. I think you got the tomato out of it, and then we realized
Garlic.
it's
How
pizza.
did he add the tomato and garlic? Like
know.
as essence of, or
Yeah, I don't know that we really asked him about that. We were at a fest and he was kind of busy.
Oh, okay.
And it
but
was-
like process would be
Yeah.
so interesting to find
Yeah. Of
out.
course.
Like getting food like that. Like it's not just I macerated some cherries and put it in the beer. Like that's
Yeah.
pretty straightforward. Pizza.
Was it in a firkin? I kind of feel like it was a firkin.
Was it?
So
Well, I
I'm
know
wondering-
it was his VIP beer for that day. So I don't know
Yeah,
if
so
that
he
was a
didn't have
firkin.
much. So
then.
it may
wonder
have
if it
been,
was
it
a
may have been a
firkin.
firkin.
I don't remember.
Could have been.
But that was the best beer I had that day.
It
There was Evil Twin did a money in pizza beer.
Oh, yeah.
Which-
We had that on the show as part of.
Did
Weird
we?
If My
You
Beer
had
was.
it?
No,
Oh,
we didn't try it.
oh,
I'm sorry.
we
It
just
was
mentioned it.
It was a
in
Weird
one
in
of our
My Beer.
games we did.
It is weird.
Yeah. It was like coins and
It doesn't seem sanitary or good.
Not in the least.
At least the coins don't like disintegrate.
and it
But
was
the-
specifically frozen pizza
Yeah.
because that was
Oh,
like
that's right. I remember
It's
that.
like a specialty.
Yeah.
in whatever
Yeah, it was
country he
like-
brewed that beer.
that was like the most consumed food in that. It was a Nordic country. I don't remember. It was like one of them.
I remember that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remembered I wanted to try it specifically because it was frozen pizza. I'm a huge fan of frozen pizza. It's,
Why not? It's easy.
It's most of what I used to eat
Frozen
when I
pizza and
didn't have
cornbread.
time to cook. But it gets the job done. But
When
anyway,
you didn't have time to cook?
well, I have time now because I'm down to one job. Thankfully.
that's true.
Yeah. I used to work 13-plus hour days, so I didn't have time to cook. I would go home, put a pizza in the oven, the leftovers would be lunch the next day, and do the same thing again the next day, and so on. It was that and Hot Pockets.
Slightly more convenient than Wawa. The one thing, you guys have your Wawa coffees, and we're talking about getting that on the way up. That's the one thing I miss about Pennsylvania, which I think is like everybody's in agreement about who left Pennsylvania or Jersey, I guess.
Notice he says Wawa and not Sheets.
I love Sheets.
I don't. I never had an affinity. There was the Sheets was more convenient to get to when I was in high school, but I don't know.
See, my Wawa is more convenient, but I go to the Sheets. I'm the opposite.
That's messed up.
I can do
Sorry.
either.
It is messed
But
up.
I'm more west. I'm about an hour
That's
west
true,
of Philly.
yeah.
So if I lived in Philly, definitely. I mean, obviously, I'd have to be Wawa.
I don't know. The Wawa in Reading. I think right where that's what you're talking about.
The one on
right?
Penn Avenue.
There's 61 for me. Not Fifth Ave.
I know where you mean,
Because
yeah.
Fifth Ave is where
Oh
the
yeah,
Sheets
in
is,
Muhlenberg. The one in
and-
Muhlenberg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that was the one.
They opened right around the same time, and they were when gas was 89 cents a gallon, and that was the first gas war that I'd ever actually seen because they were so close. And it
Oh,
was
you don't
always a
remember when
battle.
all the Gettys opened?
No.
You remember when the Gettys opened? It was 59 cents a gallon
Oh my
for
God.
gas. Yeah.
what a deal.
We paid what?
It was
$2.49
cheaper to get a gallon
on
of
the way
gas
up?
than a cup of soda.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sodas were like 89
Yeah.
cents.
Oh,
And
that's
gas was
so
59
weird.
cents.
but we digress.
Yeah.
Yes.
Moving
And now
on.
a gallon of iced tea in Philadelphia costs more than a gallon of
$5.49.
gas.
That's why I
Yeah.
give you my sugar drinks
Yeah.
from Reading, so you don't have to
Yeah, you should
sugar
smuggle us
tax.
Turkey Hill iced tea next time we see
whatever
it.
you want.
All right, thank you.
Well, we're recording in Reading next time, so stock up.
That's true.
That's true. Yeah, we'll stock up on the way back. But we digress. So we are here at Kings County Brewers Collective. I have to keep looking at the sign to make sure I'm getting the word order correct because my brain can't handle that.
KCBC. That's what we all like. Everybody
Yeah.
in the industry here calls them KCBC,
Yeah.
but I understand for the audience.
Yes, exactly.
Easier to say the whole name.
But now you two guys are not from KCBC, so
No,
we've
sir.
already covered that you're from Beer Menus. And for anybody who is not aware, why don't you give us the, elevator pitch of Beer Menus?
So, Beer Menus, for people who are listening to this, if you haven't heard of Beer Menus, who boy am I going to change
you
your
have
life.
failed. Yeah.
Ready? It's the website that tells you where to find your favorite beer, especially when we're talking Southeast PA, New York, New Jersey, because we've got tons of businesses. You can find pretty much any beer you want. You just go to the website, search the beer or the business that you want to, find out what they've got, and they'll tell you. It'll tell you everything they have, and it'll tell you all about the beer too. And then we provide a whole bunch of professional services for the restaurants, bars, bottle shops that we work with, but it's most about elevating the beer community and getting the information out there to as many people as possible.
One of my favorite aspects of the app is the ability to put in your favorite beers. What is it that you can pick 5, I guess? Or is it unlimited?
You can... I think you can pick as many as you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You put in a beer that you're searching for, and then it'll send you an email or a notification when that beer is available around you. And
Yeah.
I love that. There was a while when I was searching for what the hell was it? I don't remember.
A beer.
a beer, insert beer name when I remember it here, and I use the app to do that. And I still get emails every now and then because the beer is much easier to find now, but I'll still get emails when it's available near me. And that's how I eventually finally had that beer that I was searching for because I got my notification from Beer Menus.
Exactly. Because I work at Beer Menus, I'm so less about like searching for beer often, but there's just a handful of beers that I have the instant push notifications on for, like a Jack's Abbey Calyptra India Pale Lager, awesome beer.
Oh, I love that beer.
I'll leave the office in the middle of the day when that shows up somewhere because we get a little bit of Jack's Abbey here, but not nearly enough.
We're very lucky. We get Jack's Abbey now in the Reading area.
I think aren't we the southernmost distribution for them? Is that didn't?
Well, they just started
sounds right.
distributing not that long ago.
Yeah.
In our area.
You guys are lucky because you get all of the Philly distribution, and being in New York City, lots of people will skip their talk about beer scenes. They'll skip their many markets between their home market and here because they want to be in New York. It's cool to be in New York, but Philly being just as good of a beer city, lots of people will skip other markets to be in Philly, and then all of Southeast PA gets it because your distributors cover so much ground. Awesome.
We
for
are
you guys.
quite lucky with what we can get in Philly.
Yeah, we do live in a pretty awesome area for beer.
I definitely do not take that for granted anymore. I used to, but I was young and dumb then.
So one of the cool things that I found with the Beer Menus website and app is not only can you just see what places has what beer or see where you can find a specific beer or get notifications, but you can tag you can follow places. You guys promote events. You have a blog where you post about beer and stuff. So it's more like the basic utility is there, but then there's like a lot of cool other stuff as well that you can do.
we've been working on a lot more sort of beer space expert information, writing more blogs, being more active, because we're all total beer geeks on top of running the site. So that's a lot of fun, and it's a lot of like really cool content on like running a balanced draft list, or what beers that we've had this year that we really like, and what beers that the data of the website suggests are most popular. We actually did that at the end of 2016. What beers, what businesses, what breweries were most searched for, which is not super surprising. Hill Farmstead, and Grimm, top.
Well, there was
list.
one. I just read that on the way here. There was the one Stunner.
The Stone Cold. The guys in the office were totally amazed when that beer showed up at the top of the list. I never had it. I lived in LA, and I left right before El Segundo Brewing Company released that beer, and all of my friends love wrestling. I like it's lost on me, but never got it, which is really upsetting.
Now, what I like here, and I just really did this for the first time, the app has a way that you can log your own beer.
Yep.
So here I guess would be a question. I think every craft beer drinker is aware of or uses Untappd.
Right.
Are you looking to be a direct competitor of Untappd, or like a separate tool in the same vein?
So it's funny that you mentioned logging because it's actually on its way out. We introduced it because we, as beer drinkers, so Untappd has a business product that they launched in March of last year. So that's sort of in competition to us because they were bought by a venture-backed company. We don't need to get into the details of that. But so we launched logging a while back as sort of an alternative because Beer Menus is primarily, and prior to that, only about finding where you want to go get a beer or a beer specifically. And so we launched that in conjunction so you could keep track of what you had. It was really an idea similar to what Untappd is about. But now we're changing it to a more interactive applause, or at least we're hoping to. We're testing that right now. So you can say, like, I love this beer. I love that you, Barley Mow, for example, or KCBC has this beer. Or that I would really want this beer. As like a confirmation to the business, like, you're carrying great beer. You've got a great beer list, and I love what you're about. So that's the idea we're looking at. So it's actually, I'm sorry if you really liked it, but
it's cool. Well, I wanted to say I did like the interface a little better than Untappd's app because that hasn't changed in years. And even when, I have an iPhone. When iOS 7 came out, it took them forever to update to that. Yes, I know.
You have an iPhone?
I know. It took him.
He doesn't have a Windows phone?
No, believe it or not. It took him forever to update the aesthetic to match iOS 7 because that's when the design went flat and they still had the older style keyboard inside of the app.
Oh, yeah. I still used it at that point.
Yeah. But the overall aesthetic of it has not changed in forever, while the Beer Menus app is very clean. It's
That's,
very well designed.
we're also design geeks, or at least the guys who manage that portion of things. And girl, we recently also hired a woman. We always joke about it. The like tech startup space, which we still fall into because we're a small company, despite being 9 years old. About not being as diverse as we want to, and we're hiring. Please apply.
Women especially encouraged to apply.
Women, because we just don't get applications from people who aren't like just beer dudes.
Just understandable.
We want to see a more diverse craft beer space. Women, not people who look like me, guy with a beard, all awesome things. And it's the industry is leaning in that direction, so that's awesome.
That's cool. Something you mentioned, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the. Saying I love that this place has this beer, as an affirmation of the businesses, is you must have a lot of fairly valuable data to businesses that serve beer. Do you share trends as far as like who's looking for what beer and what market? Does that data get out there at all to businesses?
So we keep track of the most followed beers in a given market, a market being defined by Google as a metro area. So Reading is technically Philly, Long Island is technically New York City, that sort of thing, as well as most viewed. So we can see on a whole or by a market what the most viewed beers are. And that's where that blog about top beers came from, was that data. And a lot of people were like, why isn't my favorite local brewery on here? Or thanks for picking us. And it was like, yeah, we didn't. That's what
numbers,
all of the people who didn't know their searches mattered were telling us. And we're not keeping track of anybody's data. It's just Google. It's what you signed up for this.
The terms and conditions.
It's in the terms and conditions, yeah. So we've got that, and we'll share it with businesses who ask. So if you're a business and you want to find out what's popular, ask. But we're working on launching it as like a part of the product,
right,
so that you can. We've already launched a tool to help figure out what makes a good draft list, a balanced beer list, because a lot of businesses want to be doing craft beer but don't know how best to approach craft beer. So that will then come in conjunction with a guide to what's most popular, what can you get, and it excludes specifically beers that are impossible to get. Right. So, for example,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, right. So we're not going to tell a business. You should get
Pliny the Younger,
or Pliny the Elder, or Rare Hill Farmstead if it's not available at a lot of places nearby. If there's bad distribution of a beer or it's too rare, we're not going to suggest to like some new craft beer business like, yeah, you should get Pliny the Elder. So it's like, you cannot get Pliny the Elder. And it's like, and I don't mean to be mean to Untapped, but like their beer suggestion, that always irked me for years and years, and it's still the same case where the beers that are suggested are the top of that style. You check in your local brewery's IPA, and you should have Pliny the Elder, Pliny the Younger, and I don't know, pick a Hill Farmstead.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't do that. So what help is that? So we exclude those.
I think actually now the recommendations are starting to be more local, I've noticed, the recommendations. So I think they have altered that a little bit.
Good on them.
Now, talking about all this data, I'm interested. I didn't realize you guys have been around for 9 years.
I was going to bring that up,
That's
too.
sort of jaw-dropping. I'm interested to hear your perspective on how has the data changed? How has the craft beer landscape changed? What has the last 9 years, how has that been for you?
I wish that the both of us had more insight, but we've actually only been with Beer Menus for a year as of, what day was it?
January 20th?
Yeah, like a week ago, week and a half ago.
Do you guys share an anniversary?
We do. We started on the same day, coincidentally.
Did you celebrate this year, or was it dampened by other events?
I was going to ask that.
We have not celebrated anybody's anniversary with the company beyond like a group chat. Hey, congrats on making it another year. But we can't speak for how it's changed over the 9 years past what we've been told, which is Beer Menus started in New York City. It was a pair of brothers, Eric and Will. Eric, who lives in Philly now, and Will, who's in South Brooklyn. And they sort of handpicked all the businesses who were going to be on Beer Menus at first, and would go around and collect their draft lists and update everything by hand at first, because there were a very finite number of craft beer focused businesses when they launched the site. But then that changed as craft beer changed, as more breweries opened, and as soon as they made it self-service, it sort of exploded. And We pushed up into Connecticut and down into Philly and through New Jersey, and Chicago really took a serious approach to it. It's our second biggest market at this point, despite being so far from home for us. And once it became self-service, the number of people who come to the site and want to leverage it is incredible. And we've got over 28,000 businesses, I think, across the world, and 10 million users in the U.S. So it's. I mean, I can only speak for the last year, but it's constantly growing, and it's crazy to see the number of beers. I actually just we have a chat function that lives on the site, so people can essentially text me if they're a business, not a user. So don't try it. But a guy in the Bronx messaged me yesterday. He's like, "Hey, I just got my business on, and I want some help getting my beers uploaded." I said, "Sure, send me all of your info." And he's like, "Oh, well, I carry most beers. Can you just add all the beers that you have in the system? Because I carry most of them." And I said, that's 150,000 beers. I don't think you have all of those. It's crazy. I mean,
I carry all the beers.
We have all the beer.
I don't think the dude understood like seasonality or rare beer, but it's just like it is a ludicrous volume of beer, and that grows every day. I think it was around 100,000 when I started a year ago, and we're like, certainly there's some duplicates or people misentering beers, but we're constantly like cleaning that and trying to like cut it back. But it grows at such a crazy pace.
How often do the lists get updated? And I guess who's responsible for that then too? Is that on the business to update you guys, or is there like on an account management side, do you keep up with your accounts to see what they have on tap then?
Yeah, so a lot of what I do is calling businesses and making sure that they have the up-to-date draft list. Otherwise, people go in and they get mad that they don't have exactly what they're looking for.
Right.
So, people tend to get lazy or forgetful, and if it goes a few weeks, that's when I come in. I make a couple phone calls, make sure they get that list updated from their end.
And so you said there's upwards of 28,000 businesses? Is that what you said?
Worldwide, yeah.
How many phone calls do you make in a day?
I mean, as many as I can. Probably not as many as my boss would like me to see me
Wow.
make, but
He'll talk about that when he gets here.
yeah,
Quality over quantity.
right. There you go. As many as I possibly can, one human can make, and not everybody's out of date. I mean, we have such a great group of, especially in this area, people who just update. Every time they get something in that's new, makes my job easier.
So it's part of their
I can
routine as they add beers.
Some
That's one
businesses
thing they do,
love
yeah.
it because it takes one update of like a good beer or someone just catching it at the right time to really make a business feel it. There's this spot outside of Chicago in Tinley Park, Illinois, called the Open Bottle, who is actually one of our top 10 businesses. And the woman who runs the shop, she is like constantly in communication with us. She updates her menu multiple times a day, and people, like the customers, so appreciate that because they always know what's going on. They always get the alerts, and the more active a business is, the more successful they are. But like that first step can be hard to make. Because unlike what we found, Untapped users are very talkative about it. They're like, you guys said it when you got your beers. I've got to check this in. You don't say...
Specifically Steph.
That's okay. But you don't say that about beer menus. It's not because I found that you had the beer and I went and I bought it. I don't need to tell you.
Right.
But when someone does, that changes the whole worldview for a business. And they're like, oh my God, if I'm more active, more people like this will show up. And once they bridge that gap, it's so much easier for them to be active about it and it have a really positive impact on their business.
It's funny that you say that because I was actually, when we were done eating brunch, I was looking at some of the local beer bars in this area, and the first thing I check is their hours, and then I check their tap lists, and I will specifically look for when was it updated, because if it says updated 2-3 days ago, I'm like, well, this probably isn't accurate. At least the bars near us, I know how quickly they go through beers.
Yeah.
So I look for the places that just updated this morning or updated last night, the more current tap list. That, as a consumer, that matters to me when the tap list was updated.
Yeah, we always keep the tap list or the updated on date on everything. It can be tricky because some businesses, you run 20 taps, but you're not a crazy busy bar, or you carry a lot of half barrels. You don't flip a keg daily, or maybe not even every 3-4 days. But if they're diligent about like getting on, they can update it in a way that says to the customer like, hey, this is what's right. But that's a step for them.
So speaking of Brooklyn,
Speaking of Brooklyn,
I mean, we know how amazing the Philly beer scene is. I mean,
Right.
because we live it, and I've been fortunate enough to drink at some of arguably the best beer bars in Manhattan and some of the best beer places in Brooklyn as well. But I'm interested, since you've experienced both, what is your take on the New York beer scene and the Philly beer scene, and talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, New York is such an interesting experience as far as the scene is concerned because, like I mentioned earlier, so many breweries are going to skip home to get here. And I don't know if it's maybe because getting distributed here is easy, or there's distributors willing to take on like one drop of beer, but like we'll get Modern Times from San Diego will send like one drop every other month, but they'll send all their limited releases. Hill Farmstead is always here, to a point where we're sort of spoiled, and it's like I'll opt for other things because it's not as exciting. I've had all the beers, which is like, I feel bad saying that.
It's almost beer snobbish when we say stuff like that.
Right?
Not
Well, we
really.
can get Pliny whenever we
There's
want.
there's
you
a
know?
difference
Say
between
stuff
an
like that.
enthusiast and a snob.
True. I agree.
Yeah, but I mean, I think we were in Philly for the Craft Brewers Conference last year, and it was nuts. Like, everybody was there. Every beer was there. On the floor at the festival was, like, everything you could possibly want. But, like, our local scene is so much different because it's so much harder to open a brewery here. Real estate alone is, like, ludicrous. We've only got, I want to say 26 breweries, and they don't even all have tap rooms because they share space, alternating license sort of thing. But it's because of the difficulty. I think the consumer understands that in a way. So we've got like this crazy community of people who support local beer in like a totally different way than I think it happens in other places. But it's almost by necessity.
I know, and I also kind of feel like, and I know this is going to sound weird to say, living where we do, but accessing the suburbs in the Philadelphia area is a little perhaps easier, and even as difficult as it may be, but than it is in New York. So I think there's just a larger footprint avavel.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to have a car for you.
Yeah, and like Central PA has so many great breweries, but not a huge, not really huge population centers. But being in the Philly area, that's still accessible. It's still, even if they don't distribute to the city, it's something that isn't like super rare. Like, you can get your hands on it, you can go out of town, and find it places.
Yeah, and of course the other side, the problem that we have comes with the 8 million plus people that live here is like, if something is limited, there's a line. You have to go wait for it, which is to the benefit of the local breweries. Other half, and you have to wait if you want cans of their beer. Or I mean, now they've expanded their production enough that they'll send there's 3 bars around the city in Brooklyn that will get some cans. But I mean, you pretty much, if you want it, you have to go wait in line.
Oh, we have that problem too.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't doubt it. Tired
Soul,
Hands, right.
Even Levante had a can release this
Yeah.
week, and there was a line. I think when people hear the words "can release,"
They just
there is
go.
something like there's like angels singing, and like I have to be there.
It's
I have to
amazing
be
how
there
it's
5 hours
changed.
early,
Yeah.
and it's a new thing.
Even Blue Point is doing it, owned by Anheuser-Busch. They just did a can release this morning, and there were like 100 people online at 10 a.m. in this weather on Long Island, on the water, so it's definitely colder out there.
Oh, yeah.
It's nuts. It is an absolutely crazy community. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that it's the same, or at least similar, but...
And you talk about the 8 million people that are in the city. I mean, Philly's probably got like 2 or 3 million, which is not a small population, but obviously pales in comparison here. But how many breweries are up and running in the greater New York area? Do you have an idea roughly?
So, I mean, it's between 25 and 30 in the area of the city, but they don't all have tap rooms. Like, there's...
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
So like some are production and just...
Contract.
Yeah,
it's not a problem per se. It's just like the cost of doing business here is so high. We have so many breweries who, for example, Chelsea Brewing Company who was in Chelsea in Manhattan, moved up to the Bronx when their space closed, and now have Kelso brews all their beer out of there because their facility closed down, and Heartland and a few other breweries brew all their beer there just because they can't afford to do it elsewhere.
Which is, it's understandable if that comes to it. So if you have, how many do we have in the Philly area?
a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
And I
more
feel like
every day.
I feel that's one thing that I think is very distinct about these two beer cities is in Philly, we're always going to the breweries. Like,
Yeah,
but I feel
true.
like up
Yep.
here, I'm always searching for the
For a
best
bar.
beer bars.
Right.
Like I'm in Brooklyn, I'm going to Tourist, or I'm in Manhattan. I'm going to
Pony Bar Hell's Kitchen for
Pony
the last
Bar,
time
yeah.
today, Super Bowl day. It's closing.
Hell's Kitchen.
Oh,
Are we going to run
seriously?
into
Yeah,
Daredevil?
no, today's their last day. They're closing tonight.
Oh wow, that's sad.
Yeah.
One other thing I do want to bring up as far as the Philly beer scene goes, and I don't know if it's similar up here or not, is that I think, like, especially in the last couple of years, you see a lot of breweries as part of a gentrification process.
Yeah,
Totally.
that's
And
true.
there's a lot of
Fishtown.
breweries like Fishtown and Kensington, and there's a lot of breweries in Philly that are driving revitalization.
Even
of
right
neighborhoods.
around us, brewery. What is
The
it?
brewery Ours. I mean, we're in
and there's
South-
another one opening like 2 blocks from our
Yeah,
house.
Dan and
pretty
I are
soon.
in South Philly, probably the last frontier of gentrification.
Yeah,
in
and
Philadelphia.
this is probably starting because we live right
yeah,
by
we're just
West
starting to see
Passyunk, and East Passyunk is definitely past the point of gentrification.
there goes
There's
the
the
beer
beer
ghost
ghost.
again. Speaking of new voices,
And
though,
exactly, yes, new voices. We finally have something else to the table. Would you mind introducing yourself to the fine podcastiverse?
Hey guys, so my name's Alex. I'm head of sales at beermenus.com with Gage and Rex, and just catching up on getting involved now.
awesome.
So Alex, how long have you been with Beer Menus?
So that's going on.
He's a senior.
just about 2.5 years.
All right.
Yeah, it was very much as Beer Menus was turning kind of organic corner of amount of people, amount of businesses, and needed to take the next step. So Eric and Will brought me on, and then I had the distinct pleasure of bringing these guys on just a little while later.
So he's your boss. He
I was
can
going to
tell
say,
us
Rex,
the
this
truth.
is the guy that wants you to make more phone calls every day.
It's a very different
more
world
calls.
since he started because he used to be doing all of the sales from his couch in his apartment.
My office.
In his office, yeah, before we got our co-working space, which is distinctly less interesting than a brewery. So,
Well, to be fair, I do most of my Beer Busters work like on my bed, on my
I thought
computer.
you were going to say from the toilet.
no,
Yeah,
well,
mine's
occasionally.
mine's either done on the sofa watching TV or on lunch at work.
on the toilet watching the TV from the bathroom.
Yes, exactly.
Something like that. It does bring me back to something I wanted to bring up earlier before we started talking about different beer scenes. When you talk about keeping accounts up to date, do you guys have or have you ever thought about having like a sort of crowdsourcing aspect where people can go to a bar and if there's a beer listed that isn't there, they can say, "Hey, this
Ooh,
beer's
that's
not
a
actually
good
on
idea.
tap."
So that is logging will actually do that.
Okay.
So if you go to a business who's on Beer Menus, as long as logging is still around, you can log that beer. It'll let people know that it's available.
Okay.
And keep them slightly more up to date, I guess, if they're
Right,
not super
right.
active about it.
Well, so if logging goes away,
Then what do we do?
right? So my thought would be, if you have you go to the bar's page on the website, you should have like a suggest and edit thing, which forces a pop up somewhere on the bar's end or the restaurant's end, which hopefully they can get to in a timely manner to say, is this beer actually here? They hit yes, and boom, it adds to the list. You said you're hiring, right?
Yes. If you've got any development skills, please. I mean, that's a interesting idea. I mean, we've like done email campaigns to keep people up to date, but to let the customers be interactive is something that we'd like to do. It's just a matter of it requires so much legwork to build something. Because for us, as you mentioned, like keeping the site really clean, really user friendly, really up to date makes something like that a little more difficult
Right.
than just suggest a beer.
Right.
Right.
I'm sure there's a way to build in. I don't have the development skills, unfortunately. But
Neither do we, so it's always a struggle. Like, is this hard?
Like,
is
can
this
we
easy?
do
This? Like, what am I saying?
In my head, it seems like it's possible and kind of easy,
Right.
but I
Right.
don't know how to write the ones and
Yeah,
zeros.
I think like I would say like if you go to a place and they have something listed on your site that they don't have on tap, you could just say, "Hey, this isn't actually here." And then like if you get like a certain number of those, a certain threshold, like you would get a warning saying, "Hey, this place might not be up to date." You can reach out and say, "Hey."
if
your
people
customers
are really
saying-
bad about it, or like constantly out of date, users will totally complain. Though
we'll hear.
we'll hear about it.
hear
Yeah,
about it,
because
right.
because we don't. I guess maybe we should do a better job of making it clear that we don't actually manage the listings ourselves.
Oh, of course.
Right.
There's
So
too
some
many to
people
do.
think like, "Hey, Beer Menus, what the hell?" And we're like, "It's not
your
our
fault.
fault.
Talk to the
We
bar.
have to call them." And then they don't understand why people would complain.
Well, I've got one more question before I want to grab another beer because my glass is empty. So if I am starting a new restaurant, I'm opening a bar, and I want to have all sorts of cool beers that are on there, but I also want to be on beer menus. As the proprietor of this new business, how do I get onto beer menus? What's involved from beginning to, I don't want to say end because there shouldn't be an end.
Right.
But what do I have to do to get listed?
So it's super easy, actually, because you can go to the website, and on the homepage there's a big Add My Business button, and the actual setup process for what you would need to do there is about 5 minutes. And then just adding your beers as you have that information. And we're not pay to play, so a business can list with us for free. And then
that was going to be my next question. Okay.
Yeah, and we offer professional services like automatically updating your website and social media, printable menus, TV, beer displays, those sorts of things. So in getting all that set up, then they can call us or we'll call them to make sure that they get the support, the help that they need. Success. Me. And then,
that is your department.
Right, exactly. And then, really, the setup process itself is you could be totally set up in 6 hours, realistically. It's really, really simple. It's more a matter of, as a business, having all your ducks in a row, all the information, all your beers, the technology if you're doing TV beer displays. But we make it really simple, and working with especially new businesses, it's awesome to help people get off the ground and market their beer program in a meaningful way. So
that's really cool.
I love that part of my job.
And I'm guessing if I were the restaurant owner, bar owner, I'd have my own business portal to go in and add my own and update my list frequently.
Yeah. You'd log in just like you would now, but it would have my businesses section, and you can update your menu and add all the meaningful information, highlight your happy hour, your events, things like that.
Cool. Sounds nice and easy. So anybody out there thinking of opening a restaurant or a bar, free to sign up
with
with
a
beer
bar
menus.
and you're not on there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you want to let
it.
millions of people know.
Be part of a network of 28,000 businesses. Why wouldn't you?
I did want to before we move on, because I feel like Dan is ramping up to drink more beer.
It's cool.
Yeah,
maybe he has to go to the bathroom
or that as well. But something you mentioned, Gage, before we started recording, we're all natives of the Reading area, and you had said that you have more
That's right.
active or more businesses being checked into or tagged or whatever in the Reading area than in Pittsburgh.
Berks County knows how to show up.
Berks County is one of our, by capita of the county on the whole, one of our biggest markets. It's amazing. I take a lot of pride in that. I love seeing that Reading is represented, but that was the case before I started working at Beer Menus. And I've certainly come down and been a part of the Reading Craft Beer Festival where we all met, and I've talked to businesses there, and I've made it very local for them. And nobody believes me because when you're calling a business and you're an online company, you're full of shit. And I'm like, I went to Muhlenberg High School. I know where your bar is. I've talked to the Ugly Oyster actually on Fifth. Fifth
Wait, you went to Muhlenberg?
Yes, I did.
What year
I don't
did
think I
you
knew that.
graduate?
Yeah.
2010.
So you're younger than all of us.
You're a baby.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We graduated
all
in
four of us
2000.
graduated.
Yeah,
from
I was
Muhlenberg.
I was
that's so
05. They were 2000, and Rich was 92.
Yeah, he's old.
99, that's right, 90, 92.
So
What a small world.
we've got all that.
And we're in Brooklyn.
And now we're in Brooklyn. But I talked to the Oyster, and I was like, he's like, bullshit, I don't believe you. You've never been to my bar. And I said, all right, well, late night you only serve crab pretzels, and I think they're disgusting, but everybody loves them. And he's like, all right, fine. I believe you.
Or you have been here.
And I've actually, my dad and his fiance, well, wife now, but fiance then, got real hammered, and I had to drive him home more than once.
Thank you.
Ooh, what a delivery.
Ooh, oh,
The
and
brew
it smells
goes
so
nice.
fantastic.
Very much.
What do we got, Zach?
Sorry, I'm interrupting. This is our full contact, our barrel-aged raspberry sour. It's coming out really soon.
Oh,
They're
all right.
bottling it
Ooh,
over
it
the
smells
next 2
delicious.
days. And
Very cool.
It'll be released well before this episode is.
Well, I've got to hit a button before we start talking about it. Where the hell is it? There it is.
Beer me! Beer me! Beer me! Beer me!
Cool. So
We're
this
going to
was
get
actually
into tasting this one beer and then taking a break and tasting more
of
beer.
course. That's fine. Well, through the magic of editing, there will be no break.
This smells freaking amazing.
It smells really good, and this is
really
the first time it's actually been delivered to us instead of me saying it's magically appeared.
It literally magically
Yeah, it literally
appeared.
magically, I didn't expect that at all, and he walks out with a serving tray of a bunch of samplers for us.
I don't even think this isn't on draft. This may have come out of the bright tank. He's not close enough to confirm or deny that. It smells like all raspberry.
Wow.
Oh
Really
my
good.
god, that's delicious.
It's very nice.
It's jelly.
Jelly.
Jelly in a
It's
glass.
like preserves.
Or jam.
It's
Or any other noun that you want
It's
to
got
use.
a
to
nice-
What
describe
does Rich think?
Look, his glass is empty.
Oh, wow.
Rich likes it. That's a compliment.
That
He's
is
not
a
beer
compliment.
drinker.
It's got a nice puckeriness. It's got like some tartness to it. Then and it
But the fruit
Really
character is
balanced
just-
as far as like a sour is concerned, not
Yeah.
too tart or puckering.
right, and it doesn't leave too. It leaves a little bit of the tartness after the fact, but not in a bad way. Like I've had ones before that it's there and you just want to grab some water or something and get that out. But like this, I'm happy to still have on my palate.
It's very sweet tart-est. I love it. See, if we would have started you on sours like this, maybe
I'd be all in.
your
Instead
love
of
of
that Magic
sours
Hat,
wouldn't have
whatever.
taken so long.
I don't know that I would trust Magic Hat with a sour program, but
It was a sour IPA.
I had that one. That's like
And
a thing
the
now,
logo's
but
like-
Yeah.
It was
it's really hard to do right. I don't.
It is really hard to do. That was the first sour beer that we gave to Dan to
Yeah.
drink.
That was
And
like 4 years ago.
that was early on
It was
in the
early,
podcast.
early on.
It's just like there's no world where you can make a sour IPA that works, because if you're making a real sour, you have to wait, right? And then you lose all
And then
your
you lose all
bittering
the hop
hops.
character, yeah.
And even if you like really hop the shit out of it, you're going to have old hops, and then you can dry hop it. But then really, it's just a dry hop sour, which is like a fine thing to do. But then the other side, you kettle sour it, and then it's like a cheater that's going to be too acidic. Like sour. I don't know. Weird thing to try to do, but good luck to anybody doing it.
It feels like you're about to jump down the rabbit hole that we deal with on a daily cadence of the categories. And
Where does a sour IPA go? Is it hoppy or is it sour and funky? We
and
actually
then the new
just
one,
talked about this.
New one after new one after new one.
Everybody
and
wants a
what
new
do you call
category.
it? And because I was going to say the sour IPA from Hudson Valley is phenomenal.
Oh, nice.
If you would call it that, I don't know.
Where does it go?
Right?
Just have to keep adding categories.
Yes.
We like are really, we try to not, people ask for new styles all the time. Like people will just suggest like, oh yeah, this beer, it's like an oaked stout. Can you just throw that category on there? And I'm like, dude, if I listen to everybody who suggested I had a category, we'd be like 1,000 deep.
Yeah.
We just added triple IPA and Braggot. So we're ahead. We're ahead of the BJCP. Take that, losers. They still don't recognize triple IPA, which I mean,
Only
it's
a
that
matter
or
of
it's
time.
hoppy barley wine. But I'm
Yeah.
not the guy.
I can't get into the triple IPA
It's
category.
too much for me.
Yeah, I understand you want something that's strong, you want something that's hoppy, but there's a
I
line.
had a quad IPA once.
No.
Yeah.
Just you wait
I mean, is
until
that
we,
like 120 minute is a quad IPA? If we just like break it out 5%
120
at a
minute
time.
is
Right.
just ridiculous.
It's just
Well, it's
Hoppy
also
barley wine.
$15 for a 12-ounce bottle of that thing, and
That's true.
I don't know that it's worth that. I wasn't a huge fan of it when I had it.
there may or may not be a Dogfish Head beer in today's game that is pertinent
Ooh,
to this conversation.
foreshadowing.
Oh, I still have my bottle of beer for breakfast at home. I haven't tried that yet.
Scrapple beer.
Oh, I had it the other day.
I will
It was
not.
pretty good.
I will not do that. Scrapple does.
Nope.
I
You
love
are
Scrapple.
from Berks County, sir.
Yeah,
Bite
come
your
on
tongue.
now.
If my mother heard this, she loves Scrapple. Her whole family loves Scrapple. My dad's
Scrapple's
family is
amazing.
not from Reading, and they don't like Scrapple. Unsurprising.
Hey, I've lived in Reading my whole life, and I.
Well, you're
get
also
it.
a vegetarian.
Well,
Well, yeah.
even prior, I
Back
haven't
in-
been
yeah.
a vegetarian my whole life.
Well, okay, fair enough.
So we've gotten a couple of beers here from KCBC, which, again, I have to look at the sign to make sure I get the wording right. Kings County Brewers Collectible. I don't know why I can't remember that, but I can't for some reason.
Well, I like it because it's not like brewery or a brewing company. It's
Yeah.
like it's something different.
Honestly, at first I didn't realize it was a brewery when I was informed that we're going to be recording here. I'm glad to find out that it is, because so far the beers are really good. But I'm with you. I like that it's not brewing company.
We've got one in Greenpoint called Greenpoint Beer and Ale, which I think is super silly. Like, no, most people aren't like, oh, that's an irrelevant distinction, except my girlfriend, who doesn't say it with that voice, if she listens. But it's funny. No, everybody else is pretty standard, but Beer and Ale and Brewers Collective are fun.
So what did we get? I don't know. Wayne, you went
Well,
up and got the
speaking
flight.
of, so if you can't remember the words, you can just call it KCBC.
Yeah.
And
well,
this
I want to
is-
reference the whole name and, you know,
This is the KCBC IPA.
just the standard IPA.
Yeah, so they've been around. They've been brewing since last August, and it's now February. Ooh. And so they took a little while brewing a couple of different IPAs, playing around with different hops, and wanted to figure out something that they could produce consistently and would be the kind of IPA they wanted to brew. And so this actually just got released a few weeks back, so it's super fresh, but is what will become their core IPA. A little bit of like hazy, juicy,
Delicious.
fruity hops, but
my favorite of the 4
I
IPAs
think
on the board.
made with Idaho 7. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Warrior, Centennial, Azaka, and Idaho 7.
So fun. I love that hop.
And it's brewed by the KCBC team.
All of them.
I love that.
All
It's
of them together.
All of
the
team.
ghost that's been interrupting only does some of these beers.
That's quite tasty.
It's really good. It is juicy, and it's got a nice. I like the carbonation, which isn't something we normally comment on.
It's really
soft,
bright.
but it's exactly. It's
Pleasant.
bright, but
And
not
it's-
like bitey.
Right,
Yeah.
and even with the hoppiness too, it's not overpowering. Like the other ones they had more of a hop profile, I would say, but this one is, it's bright, but it's more of a subdued hop bitterness, which I certainly enjoy. Don't get me wrong, I like the super bitter stuff, but every now and then I appreciate an IPA like this.
I want to take a moment to talk about the brewery
we
here
probably
a little
should.
bit. So this is a 15-barrel production brewery. They're located in a 5,000 square foot warehouse, and this is considered the Bushwick neighborhood of
Very
Brooklyn,
much so.
which was, I did not know this, once dubbed the beer capital of the Northeast. I had
Many
no idea.
years ago, and they're now the only brewery in Bushwick, and it'll probably stay that way despite all the warehouse space for a little while.
It's amazing. So Bushwick was home to a large German immigrant population and a thriving brewing industry in the late 1800s, and local beer was everywhere, especially on what they called Brewers Row, where 14 breweries operating within a 14-block area. And by the turn of the century, a whopping 10% of the beer produced in the U.S. came from Brooklyn. 10%.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And the guy who owns this building that they rented from, who they named their Pilsner after, and we had planned to drink before they kicked it.
Yeah, I saw it kicked.
Actually used to ride the trucks, the Rheingold trucks, to get home from school when he was like a kid many years ago. And so like opening a brewery in his building was like a dream for him. He was so happy.
How cool.
Well, it was also a dream for him based on the other people that approached him to
I feel like
potentially use this space. He was like, the only two things we keep getting hit up about are either a strip club or a restaurant, and I don't want either. Brewery,
I can do.
Nice.
I can go with that.
So once Prohibition came, of course, only a handful of the breweries survived in this area. And then when Rheingold and Schaefer breweries both closed their doors in 1976, Bushwick was left without a local brewery in big capital letters on their website until now. So KCBC is the first brick-and-mortar brewery to operate in this neighborhood for more than 40 years.
Brick and mortar is important because we do have a contract brewery based here. Breathin', nice guys. They brew their beer upstate, though.
Oh,
Very
okay,
cool.
got it, cool. There is one other thing I wanted to mention that I saw on the website here for KCBC. They have a local talent tap, which I noticed on the website, and apparently it's a rotating tap. The beer's brewed on the pilot system in collaboration with people from the neighborhood and others in the industry and stuff. And a percentage of the profits from that tap will go to a nonprofit organization of each of the brewers.
That's cool.
You choose,
Yeah, they
So
had
that's cool.
they did a red IPA, but that kicked pretty quickly. I mean, because they do a ton of business in here, and it's I think one barrel at a time, so they're really not getting a lot out of that.
Right. That was a really cool idea, though. That was a really neat thing to
I
have
love
that one rotating tap that's just collaborations with people and for charity. That's pretty cool.
Now, the other beer is quite dark.
Yes, it is.
Imperial Stout. We do like opposite ends.
Oh, I was eyeing that up earlier.
So this is what we don't see. It's an 8.5% Imperial Stout, and Wayne is having a moment.
Mild beergasm. Oh, that's really good.
Ooh.
That's really
Big
good.
roasty malt backbone with a warm hoppy finish.
I would like to see this aged on something. Or in something.
Something
Oh.
tells me they are doing it.
I kind of figured.
The
with
barrels
all
are
of the
over
barrels.
your head.
Yeah, they're right above you.
Oh, yeah. I took a picture earlier just looking up.
Holy crap,
That
that's
is
delicious.
That is so good. Oh, I love it.
I thought I was leaving with a crowler of IPA, but
Take as many as you want.
Holy
in fact,
crap.
we've got a membership here. Like they did 3 tiers of membership, and we went for the top one, which is called Baller, and it like
nice.
secures you a bunch of crowler fills in exchange. But because we're like really good friends and we're here all the time, they never let us use those crowler fills, despite taking crowlers home. So please, Rex is the keeper of the card for that. You can take some home, and we'll.
Oh, sweet.
Rex might be our new best friend.
Thank you.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome.
The baller level, even if they let you take every individual one, is more than one reasonable person would need over the course of a year.
It's like, how many is it? Like 150 crowlers?
Oh my
or something?
God.
It's something obscene.
It was ludicrous.
That is baller.
We just got it because
Baller,
we wanted to, because we like really like the dudes, and it came with like a discount or something. But it was more about supporting the industry, and when we buy into everybody's like community supported growler program, because we love them all. But they're the only ones who don't let us use it. So please let us use it for
this
you.
membership level entitles you to 1 metric fuck ton of crowlers.
Yeah, pretty much.
We will gladly take those
Oh, of
crowlers
course.
with a smile on our face. This is really freaking
I am
good.
loving this
Yeah.
stout. It's so good.
I need to come back when they tap some of these barrels.
I love the taste that's still in my mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, it's chocolatey, but it's like a nice, like, bitter, but yet also kind of milky chocolatey. Like, it's kind of right in between the two, and then it finishes relatively dry.
Everything you want in a stout.
This is
so good.
This is like the imperial version of a beer they made called Rainmaker, which I was here for New Year's Eve because I live pretty close, and that was like drinking a chocolate bar. So this is a similar recipe, just scaled up. So I'm glad to hear that it is like perfect chocolate.
It
That's
is.
awesome.
It
I
is.
love what they've been doing.
Not
here.
too sweet, not too bitter. Just
Yeah.
really nice.
It definitely hits the spot, and the 8.5 is kind of masked a little
Yeah,
bit.
it's not super boozy.
Yeah, you don't get much heat out of it, but it's deceptively high in alcohol. High-ish.
I feel like this is the perfect beer to sip on while playing a game.
I was just
so?
going to say it, but I
Just
still had
saying.
beer in my mouth.
I feel like being so close to you and right by the equipment, I feel like I can help produce the show a little.
I appreciate that. I'm still going to keep the soundboard over here.
I know, you don't want me
Yeah,
touching
you're not hitting any buttons. But yes, Steph is right. And for us here at the table, it's going to be weird having this music competing with background music, but screw it, here it goes. Wayne, what do we got?
I think it works. It complements nicely.
Sort of. Two
They work
different tempos,
together.
keys.
Yeah. Cheers, Internet, and welcome to Happy Fun Time Games, the only podcast trivia segment that never forgets to write an intro. Today,
So you forgot to write an intro.
Oh, no, he had one, but we decided not to go with it.
it might come up in a later episode.
All right.
Today, we are playing a game we haven't played in a while, but is one of my favorites, and it's in honor of the recently concluded Extreme Beer Fest that Beer Advocate hosts every year up in Boston. Just ended yesterday, so today we are playing There's Weird in My Beer, which I will tell you about a beer that has a strange or unusual ingredient, and you must choose from multiple choices what that ingredient is. All of these beers are from past years at EBF by Beer Advocate in the great city of Boston. And we will begin to my left with Alex, who's going to guess first on this one. And this beer is Dogfish Head Who Lord.
What is it called?
Who Lord.
Who Lord? You gotta say it like
Who
that.
Lord.
Oh,
Laura, you
like
live in
oh,
New
Lord.
Orleans.
Who
You
Lord.
hear that a hurricane is coming, you gotta say it like
You got to
that.
say
Who Lord?
Who Lord. It's spelled H-O-O.
I guess never too soon.
L-A-W.
Too soon, too late, I don't know. It could happen any day.
Never too soon. Never
Always
too
have a
soon.
plan.
Who Lord. Who Lord.
I'm glad this is multiple choice.
This is multiple choice. It claims to be the hoppiest beer ever documented. It clocks in at 658 IBU.
Really?
Totally unnecessary.
I'm calling their bullshit.
This
That's just
monster
like-
is
it's
brewed
fucked
with
up to
Simcoe, Warrior, and Amarillo. Those hops.
Amarillo?
Amarillo, thank you.
The
Armadillo?
Spanish pronunciation is fine.
appreciate
Amarillo.
that, though.
Hops, along with an
Isn't that
experimental
yellow?
variety.
Amarillo?
Yeah, it is yellow.
Yellow.
It also contains an experimental variety of hops, which are known as, is it A, Alpha Beast, B, Medusa, or C, Triple Pearl? The experimental hop variety.
Lord.
Can't look at my phone.
Yeah, let's. I'm gonna
So you pointed directly at Steph.
I'm not looking. I don't
I'll
want to
hold
cheat.
it up here.
with great confidence,
Okay.
Oh,
unflinching confidence. I'll
Unflinching.
definitely say A.
All right,
Oh.
saying A.
the rest of
Rex.
the table also says A.
I mean, really, that seems like the one it should be if it isn't. If it
Alpha
isn't,
Beast,
Dogfish,
Medusa,
fuck
or
off.
Triple Pearl.
I'm going to go with Medusa.
All right, going with Medusa.
Contrarian.
Given your explanation, I'm gonna sound like a total asshole here. And Triple Pearl and Medusa they're real hops. So to call it experimental means that it's got to be like Alpha Beast, because that's just absurd. Alpha Beast wouldn't keep that name, I imagine, if it wasn't experimental. That's why it's my vote.
And you need a beast if you're going to have 600 IBUs.
True, right.
But to be fair, all of these hops would have been experimental.
At some point.
Time.
Touche.
Right.
So, Dan, what do you think?
I will say Alpha Beast.
Dan saying Alpha Beast.
Is Alpha Beast what A was?
It almost seems
Then
too
that's
easy.
what I'm saying.
Everybody except Rex saying A. Everybody except Rex is correct.
Take that, Rex.
Okay.
It is
poor
Alpha
Rex.
Beast. Dogfish says that
I'll get him next
Hulan
time.
takes dark IPA into an intergalactic hole of hoppiness.
Wow.
2 independent laboratories analyzed the beer to confirm its palate-shattering 658.
That just seems exhausting. I
I-
want to drink
yeah.
that beer and go to bed.
That's like a
No.
chore.
My jaw hurts just thinking about
Yeah.
it.
It's like a chore.
Have
Moving
that
on.
with breakfast and then pass out for a few days.
Yeah. Our second beer of the game, and Rex is going to guess first on this one, and this is Mars with a Z, Community Brewings.
Our boys,
Yes.
Bridgeport, Chicago.
Yes, this beer is called What the Blank. I can't tell you what the blank is, or it'll give the answer away. But it's What the something. It's a spice porter inspired by a traditional Asian staple food. Chicago's Mars Brewing uses their Bridgeporter base beer and ages it on oak and sassafras wood staves. Before dry hopping it with spice blend of coriander, cinnamon, star anise, clove, and peppercorn, the beer is infused with, is it A, ramen flavor packets, B, faux soup base, or C...
Isn't it pho?
It is, which really...
This is a moment of redemption, Rex.
given the phrase.
or C, ginger root.
I mean, not C ginger root, because what the ginger root doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Doesn't roll off the tongue.
And
Not really.
Not what the ramen. So I got to go with B here.
Go
What
with
the
B?
fuck?
All right, going with what the fuck.
Yeah. What the
It
fuck?
has to be.
Especially, this may be a bit of information that maybe we know that you guys don't, but Mars is actually like, it's a group. They own Maria's Package, right? So they own a shop. They own a restaurant, which is a Polish, Vietnamese fusion restaurant. And the brewery, and maybe a radio station, if I remember correctly.
Oh, wow.
They've got like a diversified interest as far as business is concerned.
Interesting.
So
I like
what
the
the
sound
fuck
of that.
is my vote?
Okay.
Given their restaurant.
All right, Dan.
Pho.
Steph.
Pho.
Yeah.
Did we all do it?
You were all
we
correct.
I absolutely love those guys because it's like the brewery's in Southside Chicago and it has an address. You walk up to it and it's just paper over an old
It's
window.
a house, right?
No, it's like a old broke down looking workshop, and it has a phone number that you can call to like get directed to Maria's, and it's just the owner's phone number. And he picks up, he's like, hey, yeah, no, go to Maria's to go snag some of our stuff, not this dilapidated.
And if he's listening, or anybody from Mars is listening,
the best.
manage your information on beer menus better. Maria's is like super active. Because they like, we're a great craft beer spot pre-Mars happening.
Oh, way before. I mean, they have shots
one of the earliest.
Colorado from Brazil. They have bottles of beer from Colorado Brewing in the window that are like sun drenched because they've been there since
So long.
the late '90s.
But they don't manage the information on Mars beers very well, so let them, if you're listening.
If
on
that's
that.
your major flaw, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, right. That's
the
the
only
only
thing
thing.
Worry about the beer comes first.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which is awesome, by the way. If you haven't had
If we can have more Jungle Boogie in New York, that'd be great. Thank
yeah, they're coming for New York City Beer Week at the end of the month, and they're bringing double Jungle Boogie.
So everybody was right because I honestly didn't know it was pronounced pho.
Yeah.
So I totally
Well, also
like,
there
totally
is
balls
a
that I
pho
had.
chain on the West Coast that is what the fuck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So that's a gimme for everybody. You're welcome.
Thank you. That was
Yeah,
nice.
I made an
Confidence
easy one.
builder.
Yeah.
The next one, Gage is going to guess first, and this is Revolution Brewing Company Hell's a Poppin'. It's a German
Hell's
style
a-poppin'?
Helles
Of course.
lager with a funky name.
Really all
Chicago
about
based.
Chicago.
Yeah, there's a lot of Chicago on this list. Their Hell's a Poppin' is brewed with homemade clementine, Meyer lemon, and is it A, Mountain Dew, B, lilac extract, or C, key lime soda?
Please be Mountain Dew.
While I really want it to be Mountain Dew, I think about the like procedural problems with putting soda into your beer that I have to go with lilac extract.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to be wrong. I do really want to be wrong.
Yeah,
but
honestly, I'm going to say the same thing for the same exact reasons. I want it to be Mountain Dew. I would like it to be key lime soda, but I know that's going to be weird and hard to do.
Okay.
Therefore, I'm process of elimination.
What were the other?
So
what were the other ingredients?
So
in
there
it?
was the correct answer, Mountain Dew. There was lilac
Wait,
extract
so it is Mountain Dew?
or key lime soda.
Wait, did you just
Unbranded,
give it away?
unbranded key lime
Wait,
soda.
are you being sarcastic? Of course.
What's your answer?
I wanted to be
He's
key
trying to
lime,
throw you.
but
He's trying to throw you right now.
I know. I'm going to say lilac because I agree with them. I don't know.
Mind games. Alex, what do you think?
Regardless of whether it's possible, if you were more specific and said Mountain Dew Code Red,
Yes.
I would have just
Baja Blast.
I was going to say it's
I would
Baja
have
Blast.
chose that
I hate Code Red.
because I think Gage knows just about everything about beer. I was gonna go with him, but just to buck the trend, what was the third choice?
Key lime soda.
Sure.
All right. You're going with key lime soda?
No real confidence behind that vote.
That's fine. That's fine. Rex, what do you think?
I'm thinking because Gage said lilac extract, I'm going lilac extract.
All right. Everybody
bet.
except Alex
I
agreeing.
love that they think
I already
of
got
the
one
answer.
wrong. I can't afford another.
Yeah, well, you got this one wrong as well.
Oh, what?
In fact, Alex was right because it's key lime soda.
No way.
Yes.
They couldn't take the copyright risk of the Mountain Dew, so they went with the off-brand.
Oh, that's
I get my
Yeah.
certified Cicerone in the mail, right?
Yes, yes.
You're a fucking expert now.
Done.
So it boasts a refreshing citrusy flavor. However, it only contains 2.5% alcohol by volume.
Wow.
So, interesting
Well,
fact.
It's like a
soda.
shandy.
In point,
Oh,
yes.
I never thought of it that way.
Oh,
duh.
shit.
Duh.
Cicerone my
Oh,
ass.
if
Too
see,
late
you should have
now.
told us the ABV first.
They would have given it away.
Yeah, really.
Oh.
Too late now. Moving on to Dan,
Shit.
who's going to guess first
Oh,
on this
crap.
one. And this is by Shorts,
Oh, good
and
luck.
it's a cream ale.
They'll do anything.
This has been kicking around in some form or another since 2010. Shorts Brewing Company's cream ale features a sweet whipped cream flavors complemented by the toasted character brought by a certain ingredient. Is that pistachios, Pop-Tarts, or pretzels?
This is another copyright issue, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could get the off-brand ones, but the other thing too is there's so many
Somebody
flavors.
made a Cool Ranch beer with Cool Ranch Doritos.
Well, and
But-
21st Amendment did the Pop-Tart beer.
There's so many Pop-Tart flavors that I feel like you would have been more specific if it were Pop-Tarts.
No, but I was going for the alliteration. Pistachios, Pop-Tarts, pretzels. It's nice and crisp and punchy.
That was for the audience.
What's
I'm
the
gonna-
description again? Just because it felt like it was leaning towards something.
It was a
cream
cream ale
ale.
that's got whipped cream flavors complemented by the toasted character. There's your clue. Brought by a certain ingredient: pistachios, Pop-Tarts, or pretzels.
They could all be
All
toasted.
of
That's the
them
other
could be
thing.
toasted.
Yeah, like you had like Pop-Tarts
so
are
it's
really
not
good
really
if they're in the
leading.
toaster.
Yeah.
I will go with screw it, pistachios.
Dan is going with screw it pistachios.
I'm saying Pop-Tarts.
Steph is going with fuck it Pop-Tarts.
Fucking Pop-Tarts.
Alex, what do you think?
I just thought of a reason for Pop-Tarts too.
I mean, back to Mountain Dew. I hope it's Pop-Tarts. Pop-Tarts.
All right, he's saying Pop-Tarts as well.
Mountain Dew and Pop-Tarts.
Rex, what do you think?
I'm thinking pistachios.
All right, agreeing with Dan with
Hey,
pistachios.
Ben and Jerry's.
From having a
You say we're probably wrong. I'm sorry, Rex.
Well, no, I mean, I'm with you guys. I'm going pistachios.
Ooh!
I've seen a lot of Shorts beer listings in our system on beer menus, and I think this is a beer they make with some frequency,
Well, it has been around since 2010.
right? In some
Yes.
variation. So I'm going pistachios. Find out.
Caution to the wind. Nobody guessed pretzels, which is kind of disheartening. Though that wasn't the correct answer. Rex, Gage, and Dan are correct because it is, in
all
fact,
right.
pistachios. Michigan
I've seen
I
Stone.
think Gage should go first for everyone. Just saying.
No.
Wait, are you batting 1,000 so far as Gage?
No,
he got one wrong.
Okay.
He got
I got
one wrong.
the key lime one.
You got the
Oh,
key lime one
that's
wrong.
right, because we thought it was
I threw him
lilac.
on with lilac. I got all fancy in this shit. But yeah, the brewery's pistachio cream ale, as it is actually called, a toasty golden ale brewed with pistachios, creating a wonderful complexity of flavors and a sense of fullness uncommon to the lighter golden
It's
ale.
got a really cool label, as most of their beers do.
It's also got pistachios.
I was right. Take that.
Moving on to our final beer of the game, and Steph is going to guess first on this one, and this is a Throwback Brewery, The Blank Beyond. New Hampshire's Throwback Brewery concocted a light and pleasantly tart Berliner Weiss. A refreshing change of pace from the Extreme Beer Fest's endless array of stouts and barley wines. The brew is made with a certain fruit addition. Is it peaches, grapes, or apples?
So when you said the blank beyond, blank is the ingredient?
No, it's the name of the beer.
Oh. I'm going to pass my guess to Gage. What were the options again?
Peaches,
grapes, or apples.
I'm not.
It better not be apples. Oh.
I want to vote last.
I'm going to say peaches because that's what I want it to be.
Steph is saying peaches.
Although that doesn't seem very extreme.
Alex, what do you think?
I guess because you kind of prefaced it with it being very different than the rest of the extremeness of Extreme Beer Fest, peaches seem the least extreme. Peaches.
Okay. All right, going with peaches. Come from a can, put there by a man. Rex, what do you think?
In a factory downtown.
I'm going to branch out and go grapes.
All right, going grapes.
I think it might be grapes.
I'm going grapes for the sake of the phrase, the grape beyond.
Okay.
Although, wow, really? That was like the first thing I thought.
That's not why I chose grapes.
I just totally.
I mean, I've got to be honest. I've had a
peaches beyond. Now that I'm hearing it out loud.
Yeah. Other half did a grape beer that was pretty horrendous. Sorry, guys, but it was awful. Except the only person who liked it was Alex.
I absolutely loved that
loved
beer.
It.
Love that
but
beer.
Grape and beer sounds gross, but
perfectly executed by other half. But continue.
Dan,
not so much.
I will say
all that deliberation,
I will say grape as well. The grape beyond.
All right,
I didn't think
assholes.
of that.
Dan saying grape. You are correct. It is grape. Not as bad as date grape.
That was the worst.
That was
Yeah.
awful.
That was fucked up.
Yeah.
That was fucked up.
I'm 4 for 5 though, so take
But it
that.
is the grape beyond. Yes, Berliner Weiss.
Gee, I wonder who won.
Brewed with grapes.
like
Yeah,
a few of
and
us
they
were
actually
4 for 5.
added grape juice during secondary fermentation to bring out the sourness of the grape.
Oh, we have a tie for one.
Yes, in case you were wondering. So we're going to add up the scores real quick and see who our big winner is. We have 2 people tied for first place and 2 people tied
And
for
a
second
dog in
place.
the
And a dog.
Yes, someone's excited. First place with 4 points apiece, Gage and Dan.
Woo.
Wait, what?
Yes, I know, right?
Nice.
Right? You
Isn't that like 3 episodes in a row?
You've been performing very well lately.
Oh my god.
I don't know if you're like on steroids or what's going on.
Am I dying? Do I have a
We
tumor?
may have to
He's
launch
doping.
an investigation.
I'm
Yeah,
doping.
I think you're doping. Tied for second place with 3 points apiece, Alex and Rex. And
Wah, wah,
unfortunately, sitting at the bottom, surprisingly, with only 2 points is Steph.
It's all good.
It's all good. It's all good. Once again, I'll remind
Do you
our
guys have a
listeners-
tiebreaker?
No, we don't.
Donkey
Tie.
Kong barrel toss or something?
Well, there are barrels. We used to outsource it to the internet, but not anymore.
If there are weapons
We
on the
did, that's
table,
right.
Yeah.
we will have like a free for all, gladiator style brawl.
It's
but
Bushwick.
But there's
we're,
not.
we're gonna skip that today.
No weapons today.
No weapons today. I will remind our listeners
now.
go to patreon.com/beerbusters, sign up, become a Beerbusters patron. And if you are generous enough, you can end up on our Patreon patron roll call. People
Yeah.
like Wolfgang von Colt, Victoria Miles, our hometown brewery, Oak Brook Brewing Company, and our latest awesome patron, the one and only, that's no baloney, Joe Mansell. Thank
And
you
foreshadowing,
very
we will be
much.
tasting beers that from Joe Man on the next episode.
The
Yes,
next
we will.
one. Stay tuned for that. As for now,
Know your beers.
Steph, what do we have today? Not soda, right?
No, not so. That was
All right,
awesome
go.
though.
It
Come
was
on.
pretty cool.
Not
Yeah,
key
I'm not
lime
gonna lie.
soda?
It
Key
was.
lime
It
soda.
was completely unexpected.
It was.
So if you've listened to previous episodes of Beer Busters, which I know you have, you certainly figured out that we all love beer and we all love coffee, but we especially love beers
Of
brewed with
course.
coffee. I recently read an article in BYO Magazine about brewing with coffee, so I wanted to share with you some of the tips that I learned. So in brewing with coffee, first you have to ask how potent you want the Java flavor should be. More coffee, of course, means more pronounced flavors and aroma. However, using too much might overwhelm the brew. Less coffee means more subtle flavors, but maybe not enough coffee characteristics. The style of the beer, of course, will make a difference. Stouts and porters do very well with coffee, but more coffee is required for a good balance. If you want something like a pale coffee ale or a coffee kolsch, you need less coffee. The type of coffee affects the flavor, mouthfeel, head retention, and hop usage. Strong coffee will provide a richer coffee essence, while lighter blends will bring out more subtle qualities. Many of the darker roast coffees have a higher oil content, which will add a creamy mouthfeel. However, they'll reduce head retention. Bitter coffees will affect the amount of hops used, so slightly decrease the hop content by about 5 to 8 IBUs in order to keep bitterness in check. How should the Java be added to the brew? Well, your options, of course, are whole bean, ground, crushed, brewed, or specially brewed like espresso or in concentrated extract form. When using beans in any form, it's suggested to use a grain bag. This makes racking easier and reduces cleanup. You can also use freshly brewed espresso or brew a regular batch of coffee with a machine or through a cold steep method. If you have, make sure you have a sanitized container ready to hold the coffee until it comes time to add it to your beer. When to add the coffee. Now, it can be steeped with the grains at the start. You can add it during the boil. You can add it during primary or secondary fermentation or just before bottling. Whatever method you choose, coffee flavoring will be attained. With earlier additions, such as steeping or with the grains or in the boil, some overall coffee characteristics might be washed out, resulting in a more subtle aroma and flavor in the finished beer. Later additions, like in primary or secondary fermenter, will lead to a more robust coffee expression, but might be overpowering for some beer drinkers.
Pussies.
One method is to slowly steep the coffee with the grains, which I found interesting. This will allow plenty of time for the coffee flavors to reveal themselves.
Like cold brewing, right?
Right. Some brewers claim this adds even more complexity while stifling some of the bitterness. Most brewers do agree that if coffee is added to the boil, it should be near the end in the last 10 minutes. This allows the coffee enough time to brew, as it were, with the wort and release its flavors. Coffee can be added to the primary or secondary fermenter. This allows coffee flavors more time to merge with the beer and create the right characteristics. If you go to BOIO.com, you can get some great homebrew recipes, including coffee imperial stout, double chocolate espresso stout, and mud house stout.
So here's a question.
Go to beerbusters.com and click on the red banner.
Yes. So here's a question. On beer menus, can I search by style?
No.
Again, you said you're hiring, right?
You can search by style. You can search by style, and if it were in the name, something along the lines, then it would. But that greater.
And I kind of, like you guys were talking about a little bit earlier, I feel like beer styles are starting to get a little out of hand. Like there's so many beers that are hard to define.
We really
styles that like didn't exist.
I would love to search for the New England style IPA, but that's so vague and broad, and it's tough.
Exactly, and
that's why I won't get a job at beer menus apparently. So
I just feel
guess
like
this was the interview.
It's not worth like trying to keep up with at this point. Like, I think the
no,
industry's
you're right.
At
You're
a place
right.
where
you're right. I'm wrong.
style
It's fine.
guidelines
It's
are
cool.
kinda-
I get it. I'm wrong. That's fine. No. Who's ready for more beer?
Me.
All right.
Everybody.
Cool. Let's.
Beer me! Beer me! Beer me! Beer me!
Round 2, fight.
Now we're going into non-KCBC territory, if I'm not mistaken. There's a couple cans that are on the table.
Yes.
What's the first one that we are going to drink?
So this is Proclamation Ale Company's derivative Citra. Super important to us here at Beer Menus. In December, we went on a company retreat. If that... It's a generous term. We didn't really... we just got real drunk in the woods. But we went up to Maine, Portland, and then up to Oxbow Brewing Company has a farmhouse in Newcastle. And we stopped at the Whole Foods and a couple of other spots to grab beer. And the Whole Foods had derivative Galaxy, which I have one of, and Citra, and we took them up to the farmhouse in Newcastle, and they were just so incredible. Just like absolutely amazing beers. So I went out of the way on the way to Boston last I visited to pick some up at their brewery in Rhode Island. And so that's this beer.
This is delicious.
It's
super fresh. It was like fresh the week I got, or the day I got it, I think. It was like really close to canning. And it just smells like it jumps out of the glass.
This is everything you want a Northeast IPA to be.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, because it's not
technically a pale ale.
Technically.
Categories.
It's a high ABV pale ale. So it's really pushing it.
Yeah. No, it's delicious. It's bright. It's citrusy. I know citrus in there. You're right. It's everything you'd want out of Northeast style pale ale, high ABV, almost IPA.
But it's also got like that nice, like the cool thing, like Citra, I feel like has like the citrus, juicy,
right?
But it also has that nice dank, catty, Simcoe like quality to it as well, and that this beer highlights that.
See, now that's
particularly
the thing.
In the aroma.
I don't get the dankness out of it.
Really?
Yeah,
I do. Dank and a little grassy.
To me, it's a little bright. It's
Hey.
there's pizza.
Pizza has arrived at the table.
Last time I was in Brooklyn, I did not get pizza, to my own dismay, and now there is artichoke pizza in front of us.
It is singular.
Shout out to Artichoke.
Rex, you win.
They're right around the corner here.
I beat Gage at one thing, and that might be.
Everyone has their specialty.
It's not going to be beer, but
That smells
The
incredible.
question will be, though, does this pizza complement the beer? Or does the beer complement the pizza?
Or both.
Probably not, but I don't care because
Holy
it's a
Oh my
crap.
phenomenal pizza.
Oh, no.
Holy crap.
That looks a bit messy.
Yeah.
Gage did do everyone a service, though, by not getting their signature artichoke pizza because it's pretty much artichoke Alfredo
Like on a
pasta
crust.
per slice.
Wow.
And yeah,
Well, I'm moving to Brooklyn.
We may want to. You may
gonna
want
be
to
a
save that
handful.
for after recording. I don't know that's
It's going to
touching.
be a little... Well, let's let it cool down and solidify a little bit.
Yeah.
They delivered it all of about 75 feet, so
Yeah.
it's very fresh.
Very fresh.
I can see the steam coming off of it.
Wow.
That looks really good.
Can air
Wow.
out. You can just smell it.
This beer is delicious. I mean, I don't know what else I can really say about it. There's so many words, but that's just the one I want to settle on.
Yeah. Well, this is the sort of the beer that at this point in the podcast becomes the beer that we stop talking about, just want to drink.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And this is
yeah.
where Dan cuts it up and takes out all
You
the
have to
dead
take
air
out all
while
the
we're drinking.
silence of us enjoying.
I mean, some of these East Coast IPAs, if I didn't have more restraint, would replace orange juice in my refrigerator and become my favorite morning drink.
Yeah, they could.
We did that
Totally.
in Maine. It was super good. Bissell Brothers Substance and Orange Juice is the best brunch
Yeah, I was
drink
gonna say, you could do like a
you've
beer
never
mosa.
had.
I just had Boost Jocks from Seoul. It's basically alcoholic
Basic.
orange juice. It's essentially what it is.
I think there are the necessary regulations in place, though, from them effectively marketing it as your new morning drink.
Probably.
Probably.
Yeah,
Probably.
We're not in Germany. I ate
unfortunately.
Cantillon for breakfast yesterday.
Oh, you know
Really?
what?
Yeah,
It's a
which
boss
is wonderful.
I have some comments about this beer.
Okay,
The
go for it.
label is hilarious.
This beer is a unique snowflake.
Oh,
a
come
unicorn
on. Oh, no.
on a farm of Shetland ponies.
Yes.
A complete original that we at Proclamation, or they at Proclamation Ale Company, because I'm not reading this off the can, came up with entirely by ourselves, by our own creative volition, without any outside inspiration whatever. Wow! We got this awesome idea to take barley, soak it in water, ferment it with yeast, and then throw a ton of sexy nouveau hops in it. No, we named the hops Citra when we invented them. Nothing like this has ever been done before. Enjoy this beer because you will never drink another one like this again, ever.
Hashtag alternative facts.
Unfiltered and may contain sentiment, contents under pressure. So,
Well done.
yeah, I'm getting notes of contents under pressure.
Under pressure.
Dun-dun-dun-dun. Ice, baby.
Delicious. Makes me want to go back to Rhode Island.
It's worth it. There's
Road
a lot
trip.
of, for a small state, a lot of good breweries. We've got another one that's like waiting to explode out of the bottle over here too.
I see that, yeah, it's kind of excited.
Oh, drink faster, boys.
Yeah. Austin Street Brewery, is that what that is?
Yeah, so in Portland, Maine, Allagash is across the street now from their original brewery. Their original brewery is occupied by 4 breweries. 3. It used to be 4. Now it's 2 while a third gets installed and 1 took over somebody else's space. Bissell Brothers, Foundation, Austin Street, somebody else. I don't know. But this is Austin Street's Brett IPA, which, I don't know, someone else start pouring.
I'm excited.
Brett loves hops. I love that.
Is that what it's called? Brett loves hops.
Oh, we're starting over here?
6.0%.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I was writing.
Oh, I see what you mean, waiting to explode.
Yes.
I mean, as great as
good.
Austin Street was, it was an absolute trip to go to Allagash and see 750-barrel tanks.
The tour
I mean, it
takes
looked
you
like a nuclear
underneath.
power plant rolling up to that, especially because, like, on the East Coast, some reason it put Maine and Allagash into the same bucket, and then seeing the 2 separate facilities, totally different worlds. The scale that they're doing, both super impressive, but Allagash was just next level. I think they put in 4 750s a couple days
Just
before we
before we
showed
got
up.
there.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd never seen anything like that. Especially a lot of things in Brooklyn are a little, or the 5 boroughs in general, somewhere between real estate and getting going, are much smaller. And usually 15, 20, 30, much more perceivable amount of barrelage, and then 4 750s in addition to everything else that was there was impressive, to say the least.
And they weren't totally installed, so they weren't closed on the bottom. You could look up inside of them.
Oh, nice. That's
yeah,
cool.
like you will almost never see that. It was incredible.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
This beer is amazing.
It's really good. Yeah.
Tart, little hoppy.
Yeah.
The good kind of sour IPA, I say in
Right,
circle.
right.
Yeah.
How would you categorize it, Gage?
Well, it says Brett IPA on the bottom.
Brett IPA is better than sour IPA.
Should be its own category.
We're labeling the spilled pizza.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. There was a little bit of cheese.
Just a little.
I actually dribbled some of the stout over here that I didn't label.
Well,
Probably
grab a
should.
marker and there you go.
If you're interested in learning more about beer menus, just go to your app store and download the app. But you can also
Not
go to
Windows.
beermenus.com, facebook.com/beermenus, or at beermenus on Twitter
And Facebook. Or
And-
Instagram.
and Instagram. And check out KCBC, kcbcbeer.com, facebook.com/kcbcbeer, or at kcbcbeer on Twitter and Instagram. Great beer, great people, great place.
Yeah, this place is awesome. I would drink here. Oh, there's a real spill.
I have not done that in a long
I
time.
know.
Oh, my God. Steph spilled the beer.
I know.
What is going on?
Surprising. I'm trying to soak it out of the. Yeah, I'm gonna stop before
I
I
didn't
get in
spill
trouble.
it completely, but
Not completely, no.
what'd you do with that marker?
Oh, it's right here.
I do really like it here. And you said they've been open. August was when they started
August.
brewing. Okay,
So less than 6 months.
yeah, and these beers are on point, and I'm very excited about the barrels that are to the side of me and above me. It's bound to be a good time, and I would love to come back here.
Hey, I just found out via Beer Menus that the Barley Mow now has Victory 21st birthday.
Ooh. Oh, cool.
And Almanac Grand Cru.
Well, this was fun. I
Yeah.
can't think of a more awesome place for our first New York
yeah.
spot.
We've made it to another state, and this is a good way to start.
Glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, thanks for having us up here,
Thank you
guys.
very much
This
for
is
having
awesome.
us, guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So again, if you're a brewery or a bar owner or a restaurant owner
Or a beer drinker.
or a beer drinker, Beer Menus is where it's at. It's free if you're a business owner to get listed on there, but then you have the professional services as well to kind of help out from there, which is cool because then you said you do the social media updates and,
Right,
and all.
social media, print menus, because that's always super tough to keep track of, and
Right.
digital beer boards, because that's just like a really interesting, like high impact way to highlight your beers and your business. But pay to play is not what we're about. So
Yeah.
pay for the
Exactly.
services. Don't pay if you don't need the services.
It,
Right.
it depends on what makes most sense for you. And if you want to talk directly with Gage because you really enjoyed this podcast, hit the chat bubble.
Right.
If you don't,
It literally
support
texts
at
me.
beermenus.com, and you
Also.
don't have to have such an intimate conversation back and forth.
And he is the one that has is it the head of a human and the body of a
Yes,
dog?
he's
Right,
a
exactly.
Ah.
Whether you call
A hipster centaur.
email,
There's the name of this podcast episode.
call, email, or
Definitely.
chat, and it all goes straight to me, which means I hope that there's a lot of fallout from this podcast.
Fallout is the right word.
Yes. This was a lot of fun.
For sure.
I mean, the beers here from KCBC are great. I mean, we had, 3 of them each? Well, sort of each.
We had because we had our pints.
Right, and then we
Technically
shared
5.
that. Yeah.
We've all sampled all of
Yeah.
them.
Well, either way, everything we had was good. I'll probably have at least one more before we go.
They're really just trying to cut it off to eat the pizza.
Yeah,
Right.
There is,
Well, there's also that. Yeah, so if you come into Brooklyn, Artichoke Pizza is where it's at. The vodka pizza, and then you said the artichoke pizza they have is like an Alfredo something or other.
It's a big guy.
a
I'm
whole
getting
thing.
one to go.
It's heavy.
Taking that back to Philly with me. I don't care.
Cash only. Heads up.
Don't eat
I
it in the
will-
car; you'll fall asleep.
I will stop at an ATM and then go to Artichoke. Guys, thank you so much for having us up here.
Hey, absolutely.
This is amazing.
Our pleasure.
I really don't want to hit the button, but I know I have to because there's another event coming in here. Sadly, very sadly, this brings us to the end of another episode of Beer Busters, and it's been a lot of fun. Beer Menus is the app you've always wanted, but may have never known existed. I mean, I'm glad a couple of months ago I found out about it, and there's cool guys behind the team and a lot of practical value added. So again,
And
guys,
they're all human beast hybrids.
yeah,
which is
it's
cool.
even better.
Yeah.
Mythological beasts.
We've all got animal parts.
It's like
course.
it's like a
Wow.
theme,
Fun.
Yeah.
We're really fun people.
and they're hiring. So please,
and
apply.
they are hiring. Yes, don't take any of my ideas that were reported.
beermenus.com and look for careers. I assume that's always the link.
That's it.
Careers
It
at the
is.
bottom
It's
somewhere.
careers.
Yeah, okay.
It's not a job.
Love it.
Well, the music's over. I'm going to hit the button again because...
Sorry, we went too long.
It's cool. I don't care. That just means it's a lot of fun. There. Oh, that means I have 40 seconds to vamp again.
So this has been a lot of fun, guys.
It really has. Yeah.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, and actually the crowd here is, it's a lot busier now. There's loud music, good music. There's people that are here. I mean, the team behind the bar looks like they're sort of engaged in everything. Anyway, I'm Dan Baker, joined, per the usual, by my co-host and brewologist.
Steph Hefner.
Can't forget, of course, the demented and fermented
Wayne Baker.
Did we harm any squids this time?
I don't think so.
No, I flicked one on the nose, but
all right. Well, it was more of like a tingle than anything else.
Fine. It was a joke.
Yes.
It's all in good fun.
Well, we'll see you next time.
I bid you adieu.